Hello, boys and girls. It's me, Tsufit, and I am back with another chapter of Step into the Spotlight, a guide to getting noticed. Today we're on chapter 3. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille, and we're on part 6. Part 6, I'm starting on page 78 for those of you who are following along in the book. What's in a name? A lot. A name can change your life. So my youngest daughter, Aviva, once did a speech on names for school, and she uncovered two very interesting experiments. The first had to do with how intelligent a name sounds. 80 teachers were each given 8 essays to mark. 4 of them were, they put the names at the top of 4 popular names, and the other 4, they put 4 unusual names on. And here are the results, really revealing. Hubert got a grade lower than Michael. Bertha got a grade and a half lower than Lisa. And with one teacher, Adele received received the highest mark. And the teacher later admitted that Adele sounded like an intelligent name. The second experiment was conducted to determine whether a name had to do with a person's popularity. The results, and this is no surprise to anyone named Gertrude or Harriet, the people with the more popular names were better liked. Me, I'll take interesting over popular any day, although I must admit I didn't feel that way as a kid. You know, with the name Tsufit and everybody else is Debbie, Karen, or Susan. But today, I embrace my name, and if you have an interesting name, you should embrace your name. Now, when I first started singing professionally, an industry heavyweight said, you know, Tsufit is kind of an unusual name, and I think it's too unusual for North American audiences, and maybe I should change it. Again, to what? Debbie, Cindy? People remember my name. I once heard Oprah say that when she was starting out, she was told by TV station honchos that she should change her name to Susie. The Susie Winfrey Show. Hooray for Hollywood. In the tradition of Rock Hudson and Cary Grant, Leonardo DiCaprio was told to change his name to Lenny Williams. Ooh, it sounds like a lounge singer in a skin-tight leopard skin suit to me. Ramon Estevez became famous under the name Martin Sheen. But his sons, Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, both seem to be doing well despite their name choices. So how about Orville Redenbacher? Would Ken Smith popcorn sell as well? Now, it's not just Hollywood types that shed their names. Anthony J. Mahaverick did okay for himself under his new name. Clue, if you listen to this whole thing, you'll hear his name being mentioned elsewhere in this book. There's a little hidden clue. I was planning to use Orville Redenbacher as a name of an example of an extraordinary guy, actually of how an ordinary guy succeeded with an ordinary name. Well, it turns out the joke's on me. Turns out Orville's real name is Sam Henry. I guess there is such a thing as too ordinary. The business name. If you're thinking of naming your business John Smith and Associates, think again. An inspired name can change your whole life. When Kylie Warren was no longer able to run his small construction business after a debilitating car accident, he fell into debt, lost his wife and his car, and eventually found himself homeless. The guy prayed for a break, and it came in the form of a business name. Rent-A-Husband is now a successful franchised handyman business, and Warren is an author, a speaker, and a regular home improvement correspondent for The Early Show on CBS. He's even trademarked the tagline, tall, dark, and handy. I don't know if he's still on the show. That was then, this is now. Many debut CDs are simply named after the artist. When I made my CD, it occurred to me that having a name for my CD would give me 2 kicks at the can instead of 1. People might buy it because they heard of me, or they might buy it because the title attracted them. But when I started my coaching business, I strongly resisted the idea of using a business name at all. I figured they'd be coming for coaching with me, Tsufit, right? So why did I need another name? And a lot of consultants and coaches feel this way. So I was sitting in on a business course around that time, and they made us come up with a name anyway, just to shut them up. I came up with Follow That Dream, and I ended up keeping it. And it's true that most people do come for me, but people who don't know me are attracted by the name. It's crucial to think like a star when you name your business. There was one financial advisor who told me I had a postcard with the name Follow That Dream on it, picture of me on a beach with my legs up. And she admitted that she had it on her desk under glass for about 6 months just because she liked the picture and the name before she ever thought of calling me. Don't even think, by the way, of naming your business LPA Financial or JWD Interiors. Initials are boring and no one can remember them. Remember, IBM and KFC did not start out that way. Remember Kentucky Fried Chicken and International Business Machines. Making your name the star attraction. A consumer complaint handling business could have been named Consumer Complaint Consulting Services or any number of similarly boring, drab names. Instead, the owner named it Rent-A-Kvetch, a name which landed her interviews on Oprah, The Today Show, and Good Morning America. Although she's retired from business kvetching professionally, New York native B.L. Ochman says she still gets regular interview requests. What a great name, Rent-A-Kvetch. Kvetch means to complain. Some names are just garbage. Brian Scudamore launched a multi-million-dollar business without even having a high school diploma. He had something better. He had an incredible understanding of the difference between a bit player and a star. So Scudamore tells the story of being in a McDonald's drive-thru and noticing a truck hauling garbage that said Mark's Hauling on it. Scudamore realized that Mark was never going to be a star. It occurred to him that no one had ever professionally branded junk removal. So he decided to become the FedEx of junk removal. His first attempt at naming his company was the Rubbish Boys. Not bad, sounds kind of like a movie title, but he eventually changed it because rubbish isn't a common word in North America. It's kind of more what they say in England. And because eventually many of his employees were women. So he renamed it 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Relentlessly pestering the government department that owned the toll-free number to sell him the rights. And he quickly attained blockbuster status. Pizza many years ago had a brilliant marketing campaign by setting its phone number 967-1111. They set that to music, and Brian Scudamore upstaged them by making the phone number the business name. And you know what? When my kids were little, I remember teaching them our home phone number by setting that to music. So who do you think gets more calls? Excellent computer consulting services or Nerds on Site? A fabulous business name is often worth far more than the bricks and mortar of the company it represents. Speaking of names, I was thinking the other day, why aren't there any Jewish companies? Car companies. We could sell cars. We do it differently, though. You know how the regular car companies are always naming their cars after horses, right? Pinto, Pony, Colt, Bronco, Mustang. You know what we'd name them after? Food! The Toyota Kugel, the Chrysler Knish, the Dodge Danish, the Honda Herring, and for Passover, the Mazda Matza. Special edition. And we wouldn't be sticking some leggy blonde on the roof of that car. You know what we'd put? A jar of pickles. Some Polsky or Gurkeys would sell that car. Name your stuff. Don't just name yourself and your business. Name your stuff too. Every product, every service in your business should have a name. It's fun and it sells. I always sold my coaching services in sessions based on units of time. I recently started naming my my little mini things, mini speak critiques for entrepreneurs wanting feedback on their networking introductions. It's kind of like the bite-sized Mars bars on the counter at the drugstore. You buy one and soon you're lugging home cases of Mars bars. Just me? Okay, make sure you get the name right. This is what Harvey Mackay said on Charlie Hires. He said, if you're selling a new kind of carbonated sugar water to hardscrabble Pennsylvania coal miners, you better name your product root beer instead of root soda pop. And that's Harvey Mackay on root beer. Is that how it got its name? It sounds like it is. A Virginia high school had a course called Home Economic for Boys, and it didn't generate much interest. Without changing the curriculum at all, the following year it was listed as Bachelor Living, and it was packed. If you decide to make a 200-page business card, as suggested above, a book, make sure it has a spectacular name. A couple of psychologists, Golinoff and Hirsch-Pasek, wrote a book on how children learn. I read a lot about kids when mine were younger. Now I just feed them once a week and hope for the best. But their book was called Einstein Never Used Flashcards. And it would have attracted a lot more attention than a book called How Children Learn. Can you imagine if Dr. John Gray's book had been called Man-Woman Relationships in the 90s instead of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Actually, I don't know if he's still a doctor, John Gray. Anyway, there's a TV show in New York City that features a priest, the Monsignor, and a rabbi talking about stuff. And there are plenty of marginal talk shows on TV with a religious theme, but I bet many of them don't have 12 million viewers. Could have been called anything, but you know what they called it? The God Squad. Oh my God, how brilliant is that? The God Squad. Do you need some help coming up with a name? Check out Sam Horn's book, POP, P-O-P, for ideas. She has a lot of great ideas in that book. Master of my domain. A word about domain names. When I wrote this book, I wrote in here that I had 503. I don't have 503 anymore, nowhere near that. But at the time I had 503 domain names. My friends were ready to send me to Domain Names Anonymous, Domain Names Addicts Anonymous, because they're not making any more lakefront. And at that time I said they're not making any more domain names. It's not exactly true. They have made more domain names since I wrote the book by adding other little endings like .tv, .this, .that, I don't know. They've added .everything, but at the time they weren't making any more .coms, that's for sure. And unless you want to be stuck with .us or some such thing, .ca, grab the .com of your name. They're like options on land. You can always let them go in a year or two if you don't need them, and over the years I've let go of most of mine. It might be a stretch to call them an investment, but you know what? Sex.com sold for $12 million US. That's like 50 million Canadian. And it made business.com seem like a deal at 7.5 million. Now, certainly they can be priceless in naming your future business projects, and that's why I got so many of them. And when I came out with a new product, I just slapped one of my names on them and I was good to go. So when you're naming for your business, check first if the domain name is available, because if it's taken, you may have a competitor out there and you should be checking them out. Trademarks are also really valuable but expensive and time-consuming to obtain. They don't replace a trademark, but for $10 a pop, domain names are one of the best deals going to help you reinforce the presence of your business. So you've cast yourself in the role that you want, you've figured out what you're selling, what you're really selling, you've developed it, you've named your character. This show is really coming together. To protect what you've built, there's an important crew member I'd like you to meet. And we will meet that crew member in our next episode. This has been Chapter 3, Part 6 of Step into the Spotlight, a guide to getting noticed. If you want your own copy of Step into the Spotlight, check the show notes. You can get a single copy. You can buy a case of 20. And I will see you in Chapter 3, Part 7 in the next one. Tsufit out.